Hello, hello, it's Mark from Muddy River Clay. Today we are going to hand build this adorable dog planter. I got these from ceramictransfers.com and they have some really adorable transfers that you can get. I'm a dog person, so we are going to do some dog planters today, but they've got some cool designs for you to use. So I'm going to jump right into it. I've got some things already set up. How I make this size planter is I go ahead and I find a plastic jar. You could use a ceramic jar, and then I'll put a bread bag or some plastic around it. And then that's going to be my form. And then as it starts to dry a little bit, I can pull the piece out because of the plastic. You could also use hose, but I tend to use plastic just to recycle those. All right, this design all starts off with a slab roll. So I've already rolled this out just to save some time, and my roller's off camera way over there. So if you don't have a roller, you're newer to pottery, you can absolutely take a rolling pin and just roll something out. The reason a lot of people use slab rollers is you get that consistency of having that same level of thickness all the way around. So let me bring it down here a little bit, show you how I bring that together. Got my kiln on in the background. Hopefully it's not too distracting. So I wrap it around fairly tight, and what I want to think about is how this seam will overlap. So I'm going to go ahead and get it as close as possible, and then I'm going to use a pin tool to go ahead and cut off the excess. Now, as far as putting that together, there's a lot of things you can do. You could bevel the edges, you could slip and score, you could just push it together, and everyone learns their own way of doing things. I tend to overlap here because this is going to hold a plant, it's going to hold water. I want to make sure that it is, the seams are completely together here. So next I'm using my rib tool to go over the seam on the outside and also get rid of any cracks and things that we have. Position it more in the center. I'm using a banding tool. I have some kind of wheel underneath. It makes this process go really smooth. So I'll go over this a little bit more off camera, but I just want to make sure that my seams are as clean as possible. Next I'll take that tool again, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut off the excess on the top. Next up, I'm going to go ahead and set that piece aside, and I've got another smaller slab that's going to be the bottom. I'm going to do two things here. I have a stamp at the bottom that says Muddy River Clay, so I'll put that just about in the center. And then since this is going to be a planter, I also want to make a drainage hole. And I have gotten feedback from time to make that hole just a little bit larger, so just a reminder, make sure you got a good sized drainage hole there. All right, I'm going to flip that over, and now I'm going to take my piece back, and I still have the insert inside. And again, this is where you can slip and score. If that's a new term for you, you've got some water, or you've got a mix of clay and water, which is slurry, and then that just helps the seam go back together. Now I'll cut it off with my pin tool and leave a little bit of excess because I actually want to have this overlap on the outside, because again, this vessel is going to hold water and dirt, and I just want to make sure that that seam is solid. So now I've turned it over and I've cleaned up the seam as much as possible. So this is now the bottom, and I just want to make sure that that seam is on there, and I've done so with a rib tool. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is lay that down. I've still got my piece inside, and I'm gonna go ahead and use a circle cutter, but I'm not gonna go all the way through. I'm gonna make a space where the design is gonna go, and I just went ahead and made that circle. Again, didn't go all the way through. And next, I want to take my actual piece, and I'll just kind of rub this off here. If you're newer to these kind of transfers, one side's going to be a little bit darker, and that's the side that has the glaze on it. And they go on really well. I remember the first time I tried these, they kind of stressed me out because I didn't know what I was doing. But really, it needs just a little bit of water. So I'm going to go now in that circle, add just a little bit of water. And then I'm going to take the transfer, and I'm going to lay it down. Probably be able to show you the laying down part on camera. There we go. And then what I found to be best is to take a brush with just a little bit of water on it, gently go over it again. I'm going over it one way and the other. And that should be it. You shouldn't have to rub it really hard. You shouldn't have to spend a lot of time here. The more you mess with it, the more chances you have to ruin it. So now here's the magic, and there's your puppy dog. Now try to use these again. It's very light, so it looks like, oh, I could just use that again and again. You probably can only use that once, and again, you can try it, but I have not had good luck with that. All right, so there is our adorable puppy. Now it's just personal preference. So I like having the place where the puppy dog is remain smooth, and then I like using some type of design tool. Pick these up at a pottery store, and just going around the rest of the pot. And that's gonna give me some texture when I decide to glaze it. Now, the only other thing I might do is put a lip or a rim up here. And to do that, I've got a coil that I've already laid out here, and I'm just gonna run this along the top. I'm gonna squish that in. It's okay if it comes apart. And just bring that together. Now I'm gonna work it in to the top, and then I'll work it in at the bottom. And then I'll use my design again, just to give it a little bit of pressure and to have a uniform piece with that design. You could also use multiple designs, so I'll come underneath the edge here, and then we're just about done. All right, so the last piece here is to pull the center out and then clean the seams inside. And you want to be careful when you pull the bag out. Hopefully it didn't grab on any seams like that, but sometimes it does. So now you want to give it a final look, clean up the seam, and then use a tool, something that's going to get inside there to clean up the seams inside. So make sure the bottom seam is connected and the additional seams that you made as you're putting it together. And we're done. So here was the one that I started with, different design, and then here's the one that we just did. If you love hand building as much as I do, I hope you'll stick around and you'll subscribe and check out some of the other things I'm working on. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.